Hello, everybody. Oops, I always click live screen instead of full screen. How's it going, everybody? Hello, Beans. Why do we always have people talking about beans here? Anyone know how long it's going to take to start? Guess you got your answer, buddy. So yeah, we're going to be going on a debate panel here soon. It's going to be interesting, I think. I don't know if they're going to be aggressive. I'm not going to try to take a super aggressive approach this time. It's on big tech censorship. It's on it like I tend to get more aggressive too when I'm arguing about like human rights and things that I feel like I'm much more passionate about, I guess. The big tech censorship thing, yeah, that's like, you know how it be. But we're going to be talking about most likely Trump's the decision being upheld by the panel or the board or whatever. Let's see. So how's everybody doing? Hunter, what do you still think you disagree with Destiny on? I don't really know, because I find myself agreeing with a lot of Destiny's economic takes. Hey, look, you guys can see my cup this time. Look at that. How nice. Mouthy Infidel is super chill and super bass. Yeah, he's cool. Okay. I definitely have like notes about my big tech censorship shit. Where is this from? Oh. Hold on. I had to go live here. Let me see if any patrons want to talk while we wait. We'll see how this goes here in a second. Hold on. Censorship research. Maybe this is what I'm looking for. When was this? Give me a date. Oh, last edited on April 2nd. Perfect. I think this is what I need. Yeah, this is what I need, actually. Here we go. Let's see. I got to do some research on all the... Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Whoa. We good, everybody? Because my computer just locked up there, which is not good. Is everybody still... Did I freeze, or was it just my computer that froze? Alright, hold on. I better make sure that I don't have too much shit, like, going on here. Why am I suddenly getting Facebook notifications? It only froze for a few seconds. Okay, good. What's this? This is an opinion. Okay. I always like to just, you know, brush up on some of my shit here. I frequently will look up the big tech censorship thing. And you guys remember how it always goes with the big tech censorship thing, right? Like, it's always, you're saying conservatives have never been banned from big tech? What? No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying instead that there's no algorithmic or systemic bias against conservative views on big tech. I would argue it's the opposite. So I needed to look up the Trump oversight ban. Here we go. So this was really interesting here. I did other research outside of NPR, by the way, because there's at the bottom of this research, at the bottom of this thing, look, it said Facebook is among NPR's financial supporters. I was like, hold up. That's what makes me a little sketched out about what this is going to say then. So I went and looked it up on other sources and kind of fact checked this article just to make sure that the information wasn't being biased or anything. But Facebook just got in some pretty big shit here. A lot of conservatives are talking about how the oversight board said that, you know, Trump can stay banned or whatever. A lot of conservatives are mad about that, but the oversight board really came down hard on Facebook. And this is kind of what I always talk about, right? Is like how, hold on. This is kind of what I talk about, is how the lack of transparency leads to more and more of this idea that big tech is censoring conservatives. When there's a lack of transparency, when it's vague and ambiguous, there's room for any kind of ideas to fester, right? I mean, you see conservatives talk a lot about that shit, but you also see other people complaining about Facebook being biased against them also. Remember, Queer Kid Stuff is suing YouTube? I've been trying to find updates on that. I haven't been able to find anything yet, but yeah. Double Sauce, thank you so much for the $10 donation. Hunter, I love your content, but if you don't bring back that invisible cup, I will have no choice but to make the Geneva Convention more of a Geneva suggestion. Okay, well, I'm sorry. Next time I have the blue cup, you'll see it. It'll be invisible again, okay? Don't worry, it'll be back. So, and we can literally, if anybody here in the chat wants to like doubt me or whatever, we can go back and look at my very original speech I did on big tech censorship. And I said, there is a lack of transparency, and this lack of transparency leads people to form any kind of idea that they want. Like, there's no real information on it, right? So it's challenging. And that's exactly what the oversight board cracked down on Facebook for. By them suspending Trump, it wasn't against their rules for them to suspend Trump. I mean, the oversight board did still say, like, rule with Facebook in the sense that Trump was going to stay banned for the time being. But they were not going to make the decision. They said to Facebook, yo, Trump can stay banned, but it is nowhere in your rules that you can ban people indefinitely. And that lack of transparency right there is a huge fucking problem. Facebook didn't follow their own rules. So, again, this is what I always say. Big tech is super, like, is corrupt, arguably. Elizabeth Warren, of all people, had a pretty good take on this. Warren said she was glad Trump would not return to Facebook. I do still believe that Trump was spreading harm with his rhetoric, at least especially in the Capitol riot shit. But she did renew her call to break up Silicon Valley giants. I don't think that Facebook ought to have this kind of power. We need to break up these giant tech companies, and Facebook is one of them. They're crushing competition, and in cases like Facebook, they're acting like they're bigger than government. And I completely agree with all this shit. The issue is, I don't want to have this conversation on a lie. I don't want to have this conversation on some fabricated lie that, well, big tech's out to get conservatives. In fact, what was really funny is, let's see if I can find it, is actually it kind of proved my point, which again, there is no algorithmic or systemic bias against people for holding conservative views. It's just that conservatives tend to break the rules more often. And look, it says right here, Facebook refused to answer one of the questions on how its own design and algorithms might have amplified the reach of Trump's posts and contributed to the Capitol assault. So, if anything, Facebook is in hot water for their algorithm working in favor of Trump, so much so that it may have contributed to the Capitol riot on January 6th. So, again, there's no algorithmic or systemic bias against conservatives. There is bias against people that break their TOS, and Facebook is also a massive monopoly that apparently isn't even following its own rules because it goes against their own policy to suspend people indefinitely. And the oversight board basically said, fuck you, we're not going to make this decision. You guys have to make this decision. Hold on, let me see if I can find And yeah, to anybody watching, if you do want your message read and responded to live, feel free to put something in the super chat. I will read your message and respond to it live. And if you're watching on Twitch, I love you very much. Thank you for watching on Twitch. You can shoot something in my PayPal. You can include a message there and I can read it too. If you want. But if not, enjoy the stream one way or another. Let me see if, okay, the board upheld the company's decision to remove Trump after the January 6th insurrection, finding he had broken Facebook's rules about praising violence. Okay, so that still stands. Cool. But it criticized the indefinite suspension and kicked the case back to the company, either to ban Trump permanently or set a time frame for when he can return. So keep in mind that this board, right, is like an outside oversight board that's supposed to work like a court, essentially, and hold the company accountable and make sure that people are, being respected by Facebook, by the company. It's actually not a bad idea. Apparently it was thought up by like a Harvard professor, I think, to like have a court type system operate as an oversight board. So the oversight board ended up just like shitting on Facebook so much, they called the company a bit lazy for failing to set a specific penalty in the first place. It is lazy too. And see, that's where it's weird, is because it's like you have the conservatives that are like, they're banning Trump, right? But then you also have on the other side of it, it's like they're so tepid. They're so terrified. They like, okay, we're going to ban him indefinitely. Maybe he can come back. We're not really sure. Can we have the oversight board decide? Like, they're scared. And it really is because Facebook has too much power. Zuckerberg has acknowledged that Facebook has too much power. And I agree with Senator Elizabeth Warren to an extent that these gigantic companies, maybe it's time to look into splitting them up a bit. So it was lazy. It's like, Facebook, you guys got to make a fucking decision. But they're like, we know if we kick Trump off, we're going to get in a ton of hot water. We're going to lose money. But if we keep him on, then we're going to get boycotted and we're going to lose a ton of money. And like, they're literally just stuck. It's really quite like, it's what happens. They are literally just getting beaten by both sides. Although, granted, the right-wing side seems to be a little more unhinged with the whole, they're banning conservatives, they're out to kill, they want to get all conservatives off their platforms. The board also pushed Facebook to be more transparent about how it treats political leaders and other high-profile accounts in a set of broader recommendations. The board said the company should generally apply its rules equally, no matter whether the user is the president or an average citizen. So right now, as we know, Facebook kind of is more lenient with newsworthy, quote, right, content. It acknowledged that people with big audiences, such as politicians or celebrities, can cause outsized harm, and said Facebook should act more quickly when those users break the rules. Both companies have carve-outs, Twitter and Facebook, from their rules in matter of public interest, and Facebook's CEO has said the company should err on the side of allowing more political speech. I agree with that 100%. In practice, that meant it appeared Trump was able to get away with posting things that may have gotten the average Facebook user banned. I agree with that. I mean, Trump did have a Facebook post at one point literally saying when the looting starts, the shooting starts, which I think could be read pretty clearly as a call to violence. I don't see someone like Charlie Kirk even getting away with something like that. Okay, I just got the link. So yeah, I think we're gonna have an interesting conversation here. Whoa, I don't want to have my email up on screen. Oh yeah, by the way, want to just make sure I get to shout out my shirt really quick also before we get started. Does everybody like it? Yeah? I figured, you know, if I need to, if anyone calls me like a soy boy or something, I'll just be like, hold up. Wait a minute. You can't. It says on my shirt that soy ain't for me, yo. Got him. All right, guys. I'm going to really try to take a more chill approach. If they start throwing shit at me, though, I don't know what else I'm to do. What's that noise? Oh, yo. What's up? Is this my, oh, Patreon. Yo, guys. I'm actually just about to jump onto the panel now. But you know what? Yo, don't worry. We are still live at the moment. I see you, Ratatouille. Really like your username, by the way. I'll make sure that you know, we chat for a few minutes after the panel once I leave. Yeah, I can hear you, Chris. Oh, cool. Cool. I think you were probably just listening to me stream on my Discord. Cool. All right, guys, have a good one. I'm about to jump on this thing. So yeah. See you. Patrons, gotta love them, man. Wear earbuds if you experience audio. Okay. Oh, what do I do with my camera? I hate doing. You know what? I'll just show the panel, but I'm not gonna have my camera on there. Hello. Am I the first one on here? Am I the first one? By the way, I am live on my end, just to be clear. Okay, gotcha. Okay, yeah. Okay, cool. I haven't heard someone being called a soy boy since 2016. You know what? Bring back the insults, but only for the right wing, because it's really funny to throw their rhetoric back at them. Or at least their insults. I always find that funny. Okay, no one they can't hear me. Cool. Can I not hear it? I don't even know if they can hear me here. Hold on. Okay, yeah, whatever. I think it'll get started soon. I don't know if they can hear me or not. Wait, was somebody asking if I was trans? Debate Ben Shapiro. Okay. Let's not. All right. Yeah, I don't know if anyone's gonna come on here because no one has their camera on. So maybe it's just gonna all be a bunch of people talking voice. Which is what I plan on doing because you guys can see it from my screen. When is the debate starting? I don't know. It's supposed to start at 8, so like 2 minutes, I guess. I guess we can keep on looking over this shit. Mouthy Infidel just joined. Oh, no, I'm just kidding. All right. The board said Facebook should do a better job explaining its newsworthiness policy and how it applies to influential accounts. Under that policy, Facebook doesn't take down posts that break its rules if the company thinks they're newsworthy. Yeah, that's the thing. Hasn't that been like such a major complaint with these tech companies since like the start? Is like they're so fucking vague, right? And they always they make the TOS definitely works in a way that they can apply it whenever they kind of want. Absolutely. The board's criticism didn't stop at Facebook imposing what it called a vague, standardless penalty. It slammed the company for trying to outsource its final verdict on Trump. Facebook has a responsibility to its users and its community and to the broader public to make its own decisions. The board's job is to make sure that Facebook is doing its job. Oh, that's funny, dude. They're literally cowardly AF. It's just funny. Our decision says that you cannot make such an important decision, such a serious decision for freedom of expression, freedom of speech, without the adequate context. I can already tell that I'm way more, like, high key. You can say YouTube does the same thing with their vague rules. Yeah, all these tech companies need to be held more accountable. Don't get me wrong, and they need to have more clear-cut rules. I feel like YouTube, especially for creators, have made it a lot easier as of late and a lot more transparent. Their like non-advertiser friendly policies have really expanded, and they've done a pretty good job at explaining clearly what is and isn't. Like, it's a lot easier to decide if your video is or isn't advertiser friendly. They also give you the option to rate the video yourself. So you get you can say, hey, I don't think this video is ad friendly. Or you can say, yeah, I think it is. It's a really cool system. So, I mean, yeah, all these tech companies need way more fucking transparency. Don't get me wrong. But again, the conversation is about who's banned more and why. Like, conservatives, are they banned more? Like, probably, yeah. Sure. But it's not because they're like, I'm just a conservative. I want to talk about being fiscally responsible. It's because they violate the TOS in one way or another. Jacob, thanks for the $5. It's really cool to see that you used to be a conservative leader for me, but I stopped watching, and I see you had the same political growth as me. Thanks so much, Jacob. I really appreciate it. All right, what's going on here? Hold on. Only the host can see you. Okay, wait, so I don't know if the host can hear me then or not. But it doesn't really matter. And said she was wait. Okay. Oh wait, that's gonna be loud. So let me mute that. Every time they play their music, it gets really loud. All right, yeah. I'm going to be a lot more relaxed for this one. You can probably already tell just the way that I'm acting during the stream that I'm just more relaxed. It's just you know how it be. When it's a panel, you know, you got other people that can like weigh in. You can kind of be like, yeah, speaking of that, you know, it just, I don't know. No racism or homophobia directed at guests. Bummer. No, just kidding. Oh, we got a fancy countdown. Shout out to Politically Provoked, by the way. They are the ones who are hosting this. All right. Let's...
Oops. Sorry about that. All right. Hey, guys. Welcome to Politically Provoked, an interactive podcast where we host debates, panels, and interviews. If this is your first time joining us, don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well as the notification bell to keep up to date with all our future debates and panels. We are primarily on YouTube, but you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Discord, BitChute, and TikTok. All the information is in the banner below, or you can just search Politically Provoked and we should pop right up. Politically Provoked is a neutral ground where people from across the political spectrum can either duke it out in debate or just have a casual discussion in one of our panels. Either way, we try to represent both left and right-wing views on every episode. I'm your left-wing host, Brittany, and this is your right-wing host, Todd. How are you, Todd?
Doing great, Britt. How you doing tonight?
Doing good. A little nervous, but I'm good. All right. So our first guest is a popular online leftist and has a YouTube channel where he does debates online and commentary. He's also one of the few people that has debated both Big Papa Fascists and the Misses. So let's bring on Mouthy Infidel. How are you, Mouthy? Oh, you're muted.
Hi, I'm doing okay.
We're having a rocky start. Okay. All right. So, yeah, our next guest is joining us for his first time on Politically Provoked. He runs a popular YouTube channel where he discusses a wide range of things from Star Wars to pop culture and politics. So let's welcome John Talks to the show. How are you, John?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
I'm good. Mouthy, will you introduce yourself really quick and tell people where they can find you? I'm off to a very shaky start. I'm nervous, you guys. So introduce yourself, and then John can introduce himself. Mouthy.
Oh, introduce myself. Yeah, I'm Mouthy Infidel. I have a YouTube channel where I sort of try to argue as best I can for sort of left-wing progressive positions. Sometimes I make videos, sometimes I just kind of do nothing for weeks while soaking up modest amounts of Patreon money. But yeah, if that's the kind of thing you're interested in, then you can head over to my channel, I guess.
All right, yeah, and John Talks if you want to give a brief introduction and also tell where you lie on the political spectrum.
So I make silly YouTube videos. I mainly edit now. I'll do live streams from time to time. I would say I'm not so much like a right winger, but I'm probably more of a libertarian. You know, I definitely lean. I'd say I lean conservative and right, but I wouldn't consider myself a right winger. So.
Okay. All right. So our next guest is a political commentator who gained popularity on YouTube with some of his right-wing content and has recently shifted more towards the center left. So let's welcome Hunter Avalon. How are you, Hunter?
I'm doing good. Thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, so if you want to give a brief introduction, tell people a little bit about yourself, where you lie on the political spectrum, and where people can find you.
Yeah, sure. My name's Hunter Avalon. Most people do probably recognize my name from back when I would make right-wing content. However, over the last couple of years, I've shifted more to where I consider myself more, I guess, center-left. And you can find my channel just by searching my name, Hunter Avalon. And yeah.
Our next guest is known for his popular TikTok videos, which he was recently banned from. So obviously we had to bring him on for this panel. Let's bring on Wurzel Root. How are you?
Yeah, no, I'm doing fine. I'm doing fabulous. I'm epic and bass. That's my intro. Sorry, I was just laughing from something you were talking about. All right, next person, man.
Okay, fine. Yeah, we did have actually one cancellation. Nick did have to cancel. Somebody died apparently, allegedly. But okay, so
Allegedly.
allegedly. But our last guest is
He's
one of
scared.
the yeah, right. Is one of the first few people to start stream video games online. He has debated famous platformers like Nick Fuentes, Sargon of Akkad, Milo Yiannopoulos, Lawrence Others, and many others. So let's welcome back Stephen Kenneth Bennell, aka Destiny. How are you?
I'm doing great. Also, that's Bennell the second. The other name is my dad's name. Thank you. Okay.
My bad. Yeah, so if you want to introduce yourself and tell people where they can find you and where you lie on the political spectrum.
Yeah, I go online by the handle Destiny usually. My political views are generally pretty far left, very far left socially, and then kind of center left to pretty far left economically. And you can find me on YouTube or Twitch under the name Destiny.
All right, thank you. All right, so I would like to thank you guys all for coming. This is the first all-star panel we've had and the largest one I've had to moderate, but I'm going to try to make it go as smoothly as possible. So I'm going to start by asking a few of you guys some pointed questions, and then we'll go into just open discussion. The main thing I want to do is just make sure that we're not all talking at one time. At the end, we will have a Q&A portion, and the audience can submit questions and just tag politically provoked and who your questions are addressed to. We also do have 2 questions that were sent to us via video, so we'll do that at the end as well. Okay, so our topic is going to be big tech censoring, cancel culture, and deplatforming. Since these are all people with pretty big platforms, I'm sure it's touched everybody in one way or another. I know that conservatives have felt they have been specifically targeted for this, but 2 of our guests here from the opposite ends of the spectrum have both recently lost platforms with pretty big following. So I wanted to start with both Destiny and Alex to have them explain what happened with their platform, give everyone a little backstory, how many followers you guys lost, and how it's affecting you, and where you go from here. So why don't we start with Destiny, and then we'll go to Alex.
I mean, I've been kind of sort of permanently banned off of Twitter, and my Twitch channel is unpartnered, and then gets banned every now and then from some dumb stuff, usually related to political stuff. Yeah, I don't know how much more you want to go into that.
Okay, Alex, what happened to you?
Yeah, I got banned off TikTok recently. It's kind of how it is, man. It's happened like 4 or 5 times. The shadow bans are also a thing. TikTok's probably the worst when it comes to censorship. It's like absolutely wild. And it's not just like outright bans, but they like obviously the shadow bans, which they absolutely deny and will tell you that you're insane when suddenly one day 200,000 people decide to stop watching your videos, and it's just only the people who follow you, who are, allowed to see your videos. They just all chose to do that at once. You're insane. There's no censorship or any suppression happening whatsoever.
Okay. And so, Hunter, I know you've gotten into some debates about whether or not conservatives have been censored more than liberals. And I know you used to be a conservative yourself. So if you want to go into a little bit of what you found researching the stuff, and if you think that conservatives are being targeted more, and if you noticed any changes in your own platform as you've shifted content to the left.
Yeah, sure. So I think a lot of the times when we have these arguments, people tend to misunderstand where I'm coming from. I think that conservatives have absolutely been banned by big tech on multiple different occasions. Obviously, I'm not going to deny that. The question really comes down to, is there any algorithmic bias suppressing people for holding conservative views? Or is there any kind of, I guess I would say, systemic kind of bias towards people for holding conservative views? And that is where I would say absolutely not. In fact, there's most of the data, if not all, heavily suggests that right-wingers perform better on virtually every social media platform. And that's because the way these algorithms work, it propels content that is sensational and divisive. So the conversation, I really want to make sure I'm being clear here. I don't think that conservatives have never been banned by big tech. I just think that there's no actual bias towards people for holding conservative views, and any kind of disproportionate banning is probably because of TOS violations. So yeah.
All right, thank you. And then I'm just going to ask one more question to both John and Mouthy, and then I think we could just open up the floor and have a conversation. But you know, I know that with Trump, he was recently banned from everything, but they were talking about trying to lift that ban, and I guess they didn't. But I am wondering if you guys, from both the left and right point of view, think that they should be banning Trump, and I don't know, just what your stance is on that, and if these social media platforms are failing because of him, because I know that they like to say that quite a bit. So, Mouthy, if you want to go first. And then...
Whether or not they should have banned Trump is kind of like a weird thing for me because I kind of feel like deplatforming can be justified if somebody is like spreading a lot of like just false information, conspiracy theories, etc. And Trump was certainly doing that. So I think there's justified reason to deplatform him. But on the other hand, I mean, he's a former president of the United States. He can go on Fox News whenever he wants to. I don't think we're going to, in any meaningful way, curb President or former President Trump's ability to like spread disinformation and harm the sort of general political discourse. So I kind of feel like banning Trump is more of just a virtue signal than anything. But I don't really have strong feelings about it one way or another.
What about you, John? Because I also know that didn't you used to you had more of a Star Wars channel before, but what happened with that? You stopped talking about it.
Yeah, I just shifted as time went on. So, I mean, as far as the Trump thing goes, I definitely think that you know, you need solid grounds to ban somebody, and of course, you know, there's the grounds are like I guess it gets in this muddled. You're kind of in this muddled ground where it seems like what exactly counts as disinformation? What like where do you draw the line? And so I think as far as Trump getting banned, especially not letting him back on, I think it's just bad for the platform in general. I think it's in Twitter's best interest to have Trump on their platform. And just like CNN, you know, they're missing Trump by what is it, 50% of their ratings are down by 50%. I think it's bad for Twitter too.
Yeah, I don't know if I mean, now we don't have Nick, but for Wurzel, do you think that conservatives are we can kind of just go into open discussion, by the way, but do you think that conservatives are actually targeted because of their views, or do you think that it's
Yeah. It's just like you know, like as I said, I think TikTok's the worst when it comes to like censorship shit. And it's just like an absolute lived reality, right? You know, I don't have a study saying that I get fucking banned 37 times a day, but I do live in the world where posting even the most mundane, like, you know, I read the fucking terms of service like 7 times because I've been banned like
so
7 times,
long?
right? No, I read it because I'm a little fucking dweeb, you know, and I kept getting all my videos taken down. And, you know, I'm not violating anything. It's not even like close to violating anything. And still, every single video gets taken down. They will put your videos into review before you even fucking post them when they flag your channel as you know, bad opinions or whatever the fuck. You know, like, and like, you know, I'm involved with some like big guys up there, right? Like Republican Hype House guys with like millions of followers, and you know, they have a contact in TikTok. This is kind of like inside info, but they sort of just tell them to go fuck themselves every time they appeal for a ban. And then like other left wing people who have similar contacts, they'll just like hit them up every time. Like unironically, right? I was in conversations with report appeals on TikTok, and I was trying to convince them that I was a left-wing satirist who was actually a transsexual the entire time. And I swear to God, I would tell them that I'm gay over and over again, and they would unban my videos. Like it worked. It worked. I would literally in the appeals just type, "I'm gay. Why are you discriminating against me?" And they would reverse the ban on all my videos. It you know, it just happens. I think it happens on the left wing too, right? Because it's not really like a left or right issue. I think it's like there's a bunch of you know, one party people, you know, a bunch of these fucks taking money from the special interest groups and shit, who really want this like status quo of like shitty America to continue. And anyone on the left or right who like fucks around with their little status quo mono narrative, they start getting fucked up the ass pretty hard.
Okay. Well, so this is, by the way, you guys, this is open discussion, so we can just kind of jump in if you want to talk. But
Yeah, can I just say really quickly, in terms of what John said about there's not really like a super definable line as in with regards to what counts as disinformation. It's true that whenever you put in place a policy, there are going to be sort of places where that policy or that definition gets kind of fuzzy. However, when you're the president of the United States and you're spreading conspiracy theories about the election being stolen despite your own Department of Justice, your own handpicked judges, like in pretty much every single credible person in the world disagreeing with you, I think that wherever we want to draw that line, I think that probably crosses it. And with regards to what Alex said, I just want to say I think it's incredibly ironic to hear a right winger talking about how lived reality should trump empirical data.
I don't know if you guys
Who
want
the
to
fuck eats
Would you say
pepperoni
it's-
pizza? That's my response. Who the fuck eats Hey, did you order a pepperoni? You called them up and you asked for a fucking pepperoni pizza?
All right,
Like,
let's
what
try to
are you
act
doing?
like adults here and
right.
talk a little bit
Yeah,
about
I think
this.
it's really hard to design like any type of like TOS. It's not going to seem like it discriminates against conservatives, since the whole party is like batshit insane when we look at things like conspiracy theories or like biases or whatever. Like
Right.
if you have like rules where it's like, oh, like you can't spread harmful conspiracy theories, like I mean that kind of like de facto discriminates against conservatives, since like half of them are bought into like this fucking insane QAnon shit, or a lot of them think that the election was stolen, or like a lot of them like don't think vaccines are real. Like, so I mean, like in terms of like, is there a bias? Like, yeah, I mean, but in terms of like how do you actually like address stuff like that, that seems to be like a very, very tricky question that like most of America is kind of asking right now. Like, what do we do about the like conservative question right now in the United States is a difficult one.
Right.
Yeah, meanwhile,
Is
we
your
had
method
Russia
working?
collusion. Yeah, go ahead.
Is your method working though? You know, you deplatform people and then they just like make new platforms. By fucking with people in this manner,
Nobody's
you're
going
just
to bitch you,
radicalizing
though.
them further.
That's not
No,
actually
no one's
really
going to bitch
true
you, but they're
either.
going to Gab.
No,
They're
that's
going
that
to
the,
Facebook.
the
They're
truth. The
making
thing
How
is,
many
is
people are on
deplatforming.
Gab?
Deplatforming
Hundreds of
definitely.
thousands.
Wait,
Well, so
what is
Gab
it?
is actually like such a failed. I don't know why we bring up Gab. Gab is such a failed platform. Like Milo Yiannopoulos left for that like a year or two ago and was like crying and complaining that nobody went there. Deplatforming seems to work insofar as it like gets people not noticed as much online. I don't know how much it changes the average American's opinion. I personally am not in favor of deplatforming. I'm just saying that it's pretty hard. Like I can understand if you run a company, like I wouldn't want to host people talking about how like vaccines don't fucking work or that like the election was fucking stolen. Like I can have some empathy for the people that run these platforms here. But I mean, anytime you talk about conspiracy theory, you're like almost massively going to disproportionately like ban conservatives for it. I don't know what the solution is to that problem.
Some other people were trying to talk. I don't want.
Yeah, I know there was a few people trying to say something. Oh, Hunter, did you want to go next?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I guess like Alex, you seem to be pretty convinced about the bias towards conservatives, and I definitely think that like I kind of want to piggyback off a little bit what Destiny said, I guess, is yeah, it is definitely challenging because that line is subjective. Where you draw that line is definitely a challenge. And I think that it's about like, I guess just recognizing, right, that, yeah, what, I'm going to go ahead and kick this back to Destiny. I'm sorry. I kind of forgot what Alex's claim was. Please, I'm sorry. Go on. Trying to take the more chill approach and maybe a little too chill.
Okay. I mean, don't kick it back to me because I wasn't kicking anything right now. So I said what I was gonna say.
Truly an
sure.
epic
So,
point. I feel thoroughly debunked myself.
Thank you.
I mean,
Yeah,
I mean, like we can talk about like any number of like conspiracy theories we want. I mean, like somebody brought up the Russian collusion stuff. I guarantee that whoever brought it up probably doesn't know anything about it. I mean, we can talk about that.
I bet
I
I
mean, we
know
can.
more than you, but anyway, what the point was, like, whether it's sharing fake news from Syria, it kind of seems like certain fake news is okay. Listen, I've given up all my social media, so I don't give a fuck one way or another, but it is funny that we're allowed to peddle certain fake stories and then other fake stories are. But
Yeah, like
I
what
said,
kind
we
of
can-
like fake stories are allowed to be peddled? What do you mean by
Okay,
that?
let's talk about Syria when ABC put fucking gun range video from fucking Kentucky and said that the Kurds were being massacred. That was a mainstream media that just pumped this thing. I know they apologized a couple days later, but once the genie's out of the bottle, there's no putting it back in. So
Okay, but like,
just-
is there a punishment to like? Is that like in any TOS where like, oh well, if you like mislabel something, if you share something, like, you get
I
banned?
don't know if
Well, that's kind of what we're
showing
talking. That's like the
if
subject of what we're talking
showing
about, right?
footage from Kentucky and
Mhm.
saying that it's from Syria, I would think that would violate the same fake news narrative. But again, I don't read
I don't know of
TOSs.
any platform right now that says that like fake news is banned. That's not in the TOS of any platform that I'm aware of.
Right. Okay.
Well, all right. In like principle, right? And you know, I feel like Destiny's a bit on board with this, given his own like getting fucked up. But like, you know, conspiracy theories and shit like that, you know, if it's so crazy, it's so retarded, why would you not want it to be like an open pit? You know, and I know that there's always going to be dumbasses who believe whatever the fuck, but I would much rather see people get pummeled into submission and make their entire ideology a joke rather than like we just give it into the hands of corporations in order to dictate to
Yeah,
us
people
what is
say that,
true
but
and what
like
is false.
clearly that doesn't work, right? I think it's like, isn't it some 48% of the Republican Party right now believes that the election was stolen? So clearly, like that's like a massive number of Americans. So clearly that idea doesn't work. And like the election fraud shit is something that has been debunked in more ways than could ever be debunked possible. We have multiple 3-letter agencies coming out. A lot of these department heads picked by Trump. You've got Trump's federal judges that have gone through all of these cases over and over again. You've got like a number of other media outlets, both mainstream and alternative, and in other countries. Like this has been debunked like more fucking ways than you could ever debunk something, and there's still like a fuck ton of people to do it. So clearly, the idea like, oh well, let's just bring them out into the sunlight, and let the crazies get weeded out, doesn't seem to be something that works with Republicans. So
I also want to say really quickly that like another problem is like I mean, sure, we can say like, why not just let people spread like blatant misinformation and just factually inaccurate shit so that we can debunk it? But the problem is like, why would we want to waste our time like debunking like factually incorrect shit when if we didn't have to deal with that shit, we could actually talk about like interesting things that like could actually like you know, be fruitful in some genuine way.
Yeah, so we'll just have what is reality decided for us, and then anyone who disagrees with the reality that we assert, we fucking ban them and make it so that they can't
Well,
talk on the
I-
internet.
yeah,
What
so
the
again, I
fuck
don't
are
think
we
you
talking
don't
about
get
here, dude?
banned from like talking about like flat Earth or like people listening. I don't think you get banned for like fake news. I don't know where this narrative came from or whatever. But I don't think that's the case. But the problem is that like, so there's kind of two separate discussions happening here on what should the TOS be or whatever versus like fake news. But the idea is that like they're for certain groups of people, like what is reality isn't like something that they very much care about, right? It's usually just whatever plays into my particular ideological basis. And the idea that if we just platform more and more of this stuff on social media, it'll go away. I mean, that doesn't seem to be the case so far. I don't see why we would expect it to change.
If we
Well,
want to
in some
talk about
cases-
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. In some cases, it seems like they're only adding credibility to theories though when they do ban something, right? Because it's like the moment they step in, ban it, all of a sudden it looks like, well, you know, what's your reason here? And of course the narrative goes like, see, they're afraid of truth. That's why they're banning it. So
Okay, but
that's
Trump had,
another
like, the
problem
biggest
that you have.
platform in the world to talk about shit, right? Trump could talk about whatever he wanted in his rallies across social media. Like Trump wasn't banned on Twitter forever, right? Like, so I mean, it doesn't seem like they didn't need the credibility of being banned back then. They still believed everything that Daddy Trump said. So
I mean, I also feel like just a large percentage of the Republican electorate is so deranged that like I mean, do you really think that like there was a substantial number of people who were like, no, I don't think the election was rigged, despite like the like crazy propagandizing from Trump and so on. And then as soon as Twitter banned him, like that's what pushed it over the edge. Like I don't feel like that's a actual like substantial problem.
Right. And another thing that's really important too is that a lot of these bad ideas and these conspiracy theories lead to genuine harm to the world. So, I mean, January 6th is a perfect example, right, of like repeated brainwashing and conspiracy theories about this stolen election. A lot of it was fueled by Donald Trump, and that led to like a violent
A woman
outbreak.
getting shot by the police, and then a few people having boomer heart
Whoa,
attacks.
what do you mean,
Yeah.
dude? That's someone who
Truly
got
the
shot by
worst-
the cops,
the
man.
worst
That's
thing that's
pretty
ever
bad.
happened since the
Like, what do you
Civil
mean?
War.
Since
well, I
Pearl
don't think it was
Harbor.
more so that a
Since
woman
Pearl
got shot. I think it
Harbor,
was
not
more
the
so that we
Civil War.
had people that wanted to like break into the Capitol building and try to overthrow a government. And it seems like there are a surprising number of people in the Republican Party that would support that. I think that's the more shocking. Even if 20 people died, who the fuck cares? It's not a matter of like who died or not. I think it's just
So-
the idea that like a riot was literally championed by the president of the United States to overthrow the government, whether it was successful or
Well,
not.
it wasn't championed, right? And
was
he said
championed.
no. He said go home.
It was.
You
Come
know,
on.
well, hey,
It
listen,
was like the
guys,
most
I'm gonna have
tongue-in-cheek
to
he
way
said
step
he
go
said
back,
it
home.
too.
okay?
OJ
After
said he
saying
didn't
they're
kill that girl.
special
Cosby
and
said he didn't
everything
rape
else.
those women. Like, I mean, like, if we want to
He
read
was
things, we're like the most random
exonerated.
ones.
He
Wait,
was
when
actually
did he say-
exonerated in the
Good.
impeachment trial? So you guys have been debunked on that one. Also, are we really saying violence is the ultimate bad thing that
Republicans
happens?
had a
Are we-
majority in the Senate. Of course, he got exonerated in the impeachment trials. How do you
Well,
why do you
Are,
think that's like
are we really
irrelevant?
saying, sir, that the media had nothing to do, and the media frenzy around George Floyd, Black Lives Matter, all these offenses, all the fake hate crime hoaxes which are coming out, that had nothing to do with cities being burned for fucking months, that had
Why-
nothing to do with thousands of different fucking instances of Black Lives Matter?
was
It's
peaceful
not
I mean,
just
wait, hold
right,
on. I mean,
so
you can
not
like
just right
yeah,
wing, and those
we're-
actually killed fucking people. We didn't just get murdered by police, all right? But
I mean,
violence,
like,
violence is the ultimate bad thing. But it doesn't matter when it's your boys, eh?
Don't you
I
think there's a
specifically
little bit
said
of a
it wasn't
difference
about
there?
violence. It was the idea that the president of the United States was championing people to try to overthrow the government.
No, actually, Destiny, I think that's a valid point. I don't think you've been vocal enough about being anti-rioting.
Yeah, true. Good one. But like, regardless, yeah, I think the idea is it's not really a matter of the violence committed or the amount of violence. That's a separate discussion. I think it's the idea that the president of the United States was like championing people to try to overthrow the government. I think that's a big problem. I think that should concern probably every actual American that cares about the strength of our federation and everything.
At what point would you say that he did that though?
When the president of the United States is saying that your elections are not trustworthy, and he's saying that there is a conspiracy along with the leading other party, like the Democrats and everybody in media, to try to disenfranchise your vote, and that nobody in government can be trusted, that nobody in academia can be trusted, I think that you've created sufficient conditions such that it seems like the only logical next step is probably rioting or probably trying to overthrow the government. Like that morning, he even tweeted out that Pence couldn't be trusted anymore, his own vice president.
Yeah, and just a really quick add on that, if we want a direct quote, Trump literally said, "If you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore."
Yeah, like
So how do
I
you
mean,
Yeah,
like,
and
how do you want to
another-
interpret that?
Yeah.
it's such a dumb
Let's go
thing
in
to
front
argue
of the
about.
Capitol and peacefully protest. Another direct
Yeah.
quote from
He
Mr.
said
Funny.
he said
Peacefully
go
and
march.
patriotically.
That was
Yeah.
after they were already in
Patriotically.
there. Like it was kind of a little late for that, right?
No,
Yeah,
it
I mean,
wasn't.
he
It was
tweeted
at the
that,
end
like,
of his
6
rally, you
hours
fucking
after.
dweebus. No, it was at the end
No.
of his rally. The last sentence he said, he said it. Rewatch his fucking speech that he gave
Sure.
before
So,
anyone
but the
started
problem
marching.
is that saying "let's be peaceful" once, after for months building this grand narrative about how the election was stolen from him by like the evil deep state and Hugo Chavez fucking vote counters, I mean, that's not really gonna like mean much. Like the amount of people who heard him say "let's be peaceful" is a lot smaller than the amount of people who heard him say all the other shit, which would lead them to think that the correct course of action is to storm the Capitol in order to overturn the results of a legitimate democratic election.
Or why were they marching then if they didn't think that Daddy Trump wanted them to?
Well, they were
yeah.
there to protest.
Why did
yeah.
they go into the
Protest
Capitol
what?
building? What were they protesting?
The Capitol
election.
Police let them into the Capitol building.
What were they protesting? Capitol Police didn't let them in. They
Yeah,
got
that's
out.
not
DC
true either.
police,
I'm
the
gonna go
Capitol
actually. I'm
police
gonna
let
The
fact check
DC
you real
police
quick.
or the Capitol Police, whatever you want to call them, did not let them in. They
The
broke. in.
DC police did, and the service was down, so they didn't have communication lines.
They
At
so
least
they
it's
broke in.
sufficient
We've
communication
like
lines.
you can't lie about this because there's more video footage of this than probably any event in like modern American history.
I saw it with my eyeballs, though.
Okay, that you probably saw
Do you
that
have a
there were.
study?
Did I have
You-
my
you have
eyes
a study.
closed, dude? What
So,
the fuck was
wait,
going on? Did I have
so-
my X-ray goggles and I was looking at people like fucking Spider-Man or something? Like, what
It's
are
not
you
about X-ray. What am I
saw
talking about? What are
fucking
you
DC
talking about?
police move the fucking gates with my eyes, dude.
Yeah, I know. So I know what you
Bring
saw
me
'cause
your
we all
fucking
saw.
study,
We
dude.
all saw. We all saw. You can laugh nervously as much as you want because you're being exposed in 4K for being a
Nervously.
brainless
I've
dipshit.
seen your
okay?
penis
But
in real
literally,
life. I've
we've
seen
all-
your penis on a
literally-
picture of it. It's
literally-
tiny.
How
Why
is
am I
that a
representing
brag?
fucking
What?
4-inch boy over
Literally,
here?
first of all, my dick is not tiny. Thank you.
You posted on the
secondly-
forums. You hate when people
secondly-
talk about it. I've
I don't
seen
hate you. We can
furious
talk about my
it.
dick all you want. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, let's
If
can
you want
we
to
bring
spend
up
2
a
hours
picture
talking
of
about my
it?
dick,
Yeah, I do. I do,
love
dude.
fucking. I love talking about dicks. That's fine. We can do it all you
Yeah,
want.
yeah. Let's do it.
But let's before we move to that topic, I didn't know that was on the discussion panel tonight. So the video that you're referring to, and if you want to go watch it, you can go watch it again. the DC police or the Capitol Police did
I'm
not
not
just
talking
let
about
the
a video.
protesters in. They didn't open the gates. There were already protesters behind there. You can see aerial footage. They'd
I'm not
already
talking.
swarmed the
I'm
Capitol.
talking about my eyeballs being there in person.
Okay, but the
You
problem
realize
is
that
no
that
one
doesn't mean
cares about.
anything,
If you
right?
were there in person, then you probably know less than the people that watch the videos then, because you only had one perspective. There's like 50 million hours of
I
footage.
watch CNN, sir. I know a lot.
also
No one
the
is
thing
talking
you're-
about CNN. We've got videos on Twitter. We've got Fox. We've got CNN, MSNBC. There's a million fucking media outlets. They all came from your guys' cell phones. Okay?
So it
It's
goes
not
from
like-
no police officers whatsoever let people in to there's different footage. You just gotta
are you
believe me.
talking-
Dude.
they-
I
no,
was there.
It's kind
in
of like
person, I
saying, like,
saw
if you
it.
go to a
I
bar
saw
and
it
you
with
beat
my
up the
eye-
bouncer, and then the bouncer's like, oh, fuck, like, whatever, like, going. You're like, oh, the bouncer let me in, LOL. Like, what kind
Yeah,
of
When
delusional
Ashley
reframing
Babbitt
is this?
was
The-
shot, when Ashley
Favorite.
Babbitt was shot, there was police officers standing there talking to them in the crowd of people moving forward. You see it in the video. There's
Yeah,
two
that
behind
crowd.
her,
What that
and then
was
there's
is that
Secret
that's
Service.
what that actually
Yeah,
was.
all
Hold
the
on,
same.
I just looked this up. This was standard protocol when they're getting overwhelmed. They're supposed to actually like step back when they're outnumbered
Yeah, no
and
shit,
overwhelmed.
because they don't have the numbers to fight at all the barricades. Any reasonable, like, non-dipshit human knows this. Obviously, they broke it.
Well,
right?
this guy is
But
a
the-
dipshit though, so I'm just
Well,
I'm
yeah,
trying to
I
help
know.
him out.
Gotcha,
Hunter
alright.
Avalon.
We're the
Saying
we're the
my name and
cops at
laughing
the-
is not a roast, buddy. If anything, it's actually kind of
It is,
a
dude,
win
it
for
is.
me,
If I
man.
called
Like,
someone Hunter Avalon, they'd be offended.
Wait,
That's
Alex,
true.
Alex, were the cops
true.
at the were the cops at the Capitol intentionally like helping people smash through the fucking windows as well, or was that like
that
like
was
fake
much
footage?
later. That was
Oh, that
much
was
later.
way later.
Why does
yeah.
that matter though?
Because the point I was making was there's communication differences and everyone was not on the same page. That's why it turned into a
Yeah,
clusterfuck.
no one was on the same page when people started to break into the Capitol. No one here disagrees with you.
Yeah, wait, what is
That's-
that
The
point?
different
Wait,
police
wait, what is the
were-
relevance of that?
The different
course
police
people are on
didn't
the same
understand.
page.
There were certain cops and certain different like I think DC police were the ones who were letting people in, taking selfies with people. It's literally like a boomer rally. Like the
wait,
fact
that
that you
DC
guys
police guy got. He was literally like, I think he was fired and maybe even
yeah,
indicted.
yeah, afterwards. We're
Wait, what's-
talking about
wait.
So
people
what?
on
But
the
how does
ground
that
in
prove
real
your
life.
point? Like this was like one.
That there was
thing.
confusion. They didn't know what the fuck was going
There
on.
we all know that.
confusion. There was confusion. They didn't know there was going to be a fucking riot. That was the
Indeed,
confusion.
indeed. We're all on
Yes.
the same page here.
That
yes.
was the confusion. Yes, not whether or not
Yeah,
they were
no,
supposed
a
to
million
let them
people
in.
going to DC wasn't known. Oh, wait a minute. Because the Capitol Police was notified by Mario Bowser on. So I don't want to get stuck on January
Yeah.
6th either.
We can talk
Like,
about
this
January
is
6th all
we
you
should-
want, because I don't know if you guys have
I
any idea what
underst-
actually
I
happened.
understand.
I think he
have
just
the
likes to
DOC
keep 'em losing over
timeline.
and
I
over
can
again.
post it for you too, because like I said, people did know that this many people were going to watch this. But again, there's really no sense of getting stuck on January 6th. But we can have a panel on that later. I'm down because, like I said, we have the DOD who days before was asking for the National Guard and was denied. But anyway, I digress.
So I guess for anybody honest, doesn't know. So the problem with the communication is that Bowser fucked up, and she was worried that she was going to recreate like a Lafayette Square. She didn't want National Guard people there because she thought it'd be a bad look, and they thought the Capitol Police could handle everything that happened. And they weren't ready for the scale, the number of people that showed up, and how violent they would be. That's what happened on that day. It's like you can go and look at all the statements, all the communication, everything that happened. That is what happened on that day. That's where the coordination problems was. It wasn't about letting them in. Nobody thought they should ever let protesters into the fucking Capitol or anything like that.
Okay, man. Tech censorship.
Back to tech
I-
censorship.
Yeah.
And
Do we
bring
need
your
to have,
studies,
like, do we
Alex.
wanna
You better
start
have
at
your
the-
fucking studies, buddy? Have your
Yeah.
studies.
I don't know
Well,
why
okay.
people is it like a joke to bring up studies now? Is that what you guys do, like laugh at it?
Well,
and-
it's just kind of weird.
Or we
that,
could say
like,
your name. I mean,
you-
Hunter
yeah.
Avalon, but
yeah, it's
mean,
kind of
okay,
weird that
yeah,
you
sure.
threw that in with your like intro or whatever. Oh, studies have proven, fucking
yeah.
comprehensively that. But like even when you made that video, like that's a laughing stock video. You got like roasted like a million times, picked apart a million times, and you're
I
like
don't
still on
care.
that, just
No,
like
no, no,
pretending like it didn't happen.
That's because I'm right.
Like,
That's
you're
because I don't back
incapable-
down my positions when I get made fun of by like dipshits by you. So yeah, that's. I mean, I don't know what.
Like,
here's the thing. I think part of the
you
reason
went on
that. Hold on, wait.
TikTok
Can
too,
I
right?
actually just respond here for just a second?
No, you
Part
went
of the
on
problem
TikTok
here, I
too,
think,
right?
is that you think that buddy. I think.
Come on,
that,
you got it, dude. I'm letting you speak. Come on.
Okay. I think that you genuinely think that I think big tech censorship never happens or something. Another thing being, even if I got picked apart or made fun of multiple times, that's irrelevant to me. Were any of the criticisms actually valid? No. So what are you saying? Do you think that there is an algorithmic bias against conservatives? And why are you so afraid of bringing up studies when it comes to this subject? I'd like to know.
I'm not afraid. I just like making fun of you, honestly. Like, you know, I just think it's boring to if we're like Googling like 30 different studies that we haven't read and trying to use that validly in a fucking debate on the fly.
Wait,
It doesn't
Alex.
make any sense. If you want to
Alex,
come to these things with fucking studies saying, you know, oh, look at all this bullshit, I'll bring one that says the other, you know? It's just how it
I
is.
would actually
But
be
I'm
very
talking
interested
about
to see
the
a study that
stereo-
said otherwise because I've been looking for one. So that'd be actually really helpful if you had one. But yeah.
Well, none of the fucking information is out there. TikTok is telling me that shadow banning doesn't exist, even though I have seen 0%
Well, TikTok is,
for you
I'll be
page
honest,
for the last
I
few
will,
months, dude.
listen, I will say that I'm not actually as familiar with TikTok. It's completely plausible that they are censoring political speech, especially considered they're a Chinese-owned company and they literally have like certain restrictions there.
Well, and also, no company is going to admit to shadow banning. Okay, it's the same thing when cell
Shadow
phone
banning,
providers.
you guys.
What?
What is it? What is shadow banning?
So so colloquially, when people say shadow ban, typically what they're talking about is this idea that nobody gets to see your content because you've been like removed from the platform, but you're not really notified of this. So maybe on Instagram you post pictures and it doesn't go to anybody's feeds, or maybe on Twitter you tweet and nobody sees it in the timelines. Like this is like what people typically mean when they say shadow ban. But most companies will say they don't shadow ban, and truthfully, they probably don't. But what they actually do is they like massively deprioritize your content such that you're effectively shadow banned, but they can get around admitting to it because they're not actually shadow banning you. It's kind of like when companies say they don't throttle your internet. They probably don't throttle your internet. What they do is they deprioritize you on the node such that if anybody else is trying to access similar data pathways, your speed is limited so that other people can access the network, right? Like it's like they'll have like some technical way to kind of get around it, even though they're actually, you know, effectively shadow banning. But like no company's going to come out and admit to shadow banning. I don't know if anybody does that.
Right. I think that there's absolutely a conversation too to be had about like the power that big tech has. I absolutely think that they do have too much power, and I want to have that conversation, but it's really challenging to have that conversation when you try to base it on an essentially a lie that conservatives are all being like disproportionately banned for being conservative.
I didn't say conservative. I said anyone who is contrary to the mono narrative of the political elite. And that's why I think Destiny got banned too.
Wait, what is
in
the
all
mono
honesty.
narrative of the political elite?
What does that even mean?
We need to go to war in the Middle East. We need tax cuts for millionaire corporations.
Is Joe Biden,
we need to
is
do
Joe
all this
Biden
stuff.
trying to pass tax cuts for corporations right now, or is he trying to propose like a pretty substantial tax increase both in terms of corporate taxes and the capital gains tax rate? Like, I don't think you know what you're talking about here.
Yeah, Trump seemed pretty hell-bent on Middle Eastern shit too. I mean,
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
wait, how- is
Like
Trump part of the
you can't
monoculture,
like
or?
box me into like one fucking little box of, oh, you're a Republican. Therefore why aren't you supporting fucking corporate taxes?
Well,
Also,
no,
isn't
no one is
Biden
trying to
pulling out
box
of
you. Hold on, I'm sorry, hold on.
Afghanistan?
You might have like the very binary mind state that it's like either Republican or Democrat, but you're talking about like some monoculture pushed by the political elite. I'm sorry, do you believe that Trump was part of the monoculture of the political elite? Is that?
I don't think he was, but I think he was advised by like a bunch of dumb people, and I don't think he had a full grasp on the situation politically. I don't think he was prepared enough to deal with what
Can
was
you
going
talk a
on.
little bit about the structure of the political elite? Like, who are they? How do they control things? Where do they get their marching orders from? How do they decide what like the next monoculture is going to be?
I think it's a mutually beneficial relationship between these like pseudo aristocrats of like millionaires, like the senators, congressmen, these people who have a beneficial relationship with the money providers, which would be like NGOs, you know, corporate lobbyists, foreign interest groups, stuff like that.
Can you like point to any, rather than using like a whole bunch of buzzwords? Do you have like anything more concrete you can point to, or?
You can
Yeah,
say
yeah,
Israel,
yeah. I
it's
talk
okay.
about. No, I'm not. All right, friend. Yes, I'm gonna eat my pizza and throw out claims of anti-Semitism. That's epic. No, I've done specifically a lot of research into Black Lives Matter, and they haven't released their most recent financial reports, but it's very clearly like a crazy scam. There's a lot of
Clearly
dark
how?
money involved. What do you mean?
Like, clearly how? Like, what's the evidence of that?
If you look at the income statements and stuff like that, they recently said that they profited 71 million from the last year, but that's not how it is. They're owned by fuck, I forget the name of the new company that owns them, but it's this NGO which has a lot of different investors from Acorn, and which is involved in Thousand Currents, which was essentially like a little base like split off, which previously owned financially controlled BLM Global. And via going through Act Blue, they can not claim money, and then Act Blue obviously gets it. And whatever money they claim does not go to Black Lives Matter Global or to the different divisions of Black Lives Matter Global, but rather to this financial overseer, which was previously Thousand Currents. And once that previously Thousand Currents had it, and they then divvy up the money and will give it to Black Lives Matter Global, and not 100% of the money. Also, I believe the only financial reports we had last year was for 2019 under Thousand Currents, right? And 89% or so of that went to like bullshit like travel expenses, salaries, just all this different garbage, fucking consulting fees. And we only see like about 9%, I think, of legitimate like Black Lives Matter division spending. We have the same pattern for the new owners, obviously the same investors, the same money sources as Thousand Currents. And so they got 70 million, but they probably got like 100, 200 million in bullshit expenses that didn't end up going to Black Lives Matter. It's just like all garbage. It's all garbage. And if you look at the new
Is
company,
Black Lives Matter a
very
501c3?
similar. They do not have a 501c
Then why does any of what you just said matter?
because their financial sponsor does, and it is
But-
a
So
it's
if
a
BLM
charitable
themselves-
organization. It does not have the financial capabilities of being a nonprofit. That's why they have a financial sponsor, which is a nonprofit.
Okay, so has anybody submitted any of this stuff to a court to go through to see if any like malfeasance has occurred, or do you think the courts are all
They
corrupted
have
as well?
they have no responsibility to spend it wisely. And they have no responsibility to claim the money that is donated to them. If they do not claim after 30 days the money that is donated to them via Act Blue, then whatever money is not accepted is then accepted by Act Blue as defined in their terms of service on Act Blue, and is then spent generously to whatever different Democrats are in Act Blue, as Act Blue's only Democrat platform for fundraising.
So what's the problem thing here, or what's the bad thing that's
He
happening?
asked me how Black Lives Matter was a scam. Or Black
So it's a
Lives Matter
scam because
Global
if
was a
people
scam.
donate money to Act Blue, if they don't claim it in time, it goes to other people that Act Blue sponsor. Is that a scam?
Act Blue is like a Patreon, right? So imagine people were
So Act Blue
donating.
is like it's the fundraising platform that the Democratic Party uses, yeah. But I'm saying that like if you donate to BLM and you use the Act Blue platform, right? When you click donate on BLM, it takes you to the Act Blue page, right? How is it a scam if they say that like if money's not claimed or whatever, that it will default back to the Act Blue platform?
Well, no, I just think maybe it's
Can
not
you guys
a
fill
scam,
me in? What's going on?
because technically there's nothing illegal about it. I just think it's a lot of
Yo,
shady
tell me
dark money
what are they
shit.
talking about, guys? Fill me in
And
quick,
really,
please.
when
You
people are
say real
donating
quick,
to
hold on, 'cause
assist Black lives,
you
they're
keep saying-
donating to give people caviar.
We keep using these buzzwords, okay? Dark money. It's not dark money, right? I'm pretty sure that most donations that go through Act Blue, I think that has to be publicly accounted for, right? These are FEC
The donations
requirements.
in do, but the money that is unclaimed by Thousand Currents or the financial sponsor Black Lives Matter, that is not tracked whatsoever.
When you donate to Act Blue, don't you always receive a do you receive a receipt for that donation?
When you
Guys, I'm
donate
probably
into
gonna have to
it,
split
it
here
is
soon.
tracked. They know who is donating into it due to financial security laws. But once the financial sponsor of Black Lives Matter on the other end says, we don't want this money, we don't want however much money, they don't track how much money is denied, and they also don't track where it is spent amongst Act Blue.
Okay. I mean, if it's not like a nonprofit reporting, then I wouldn't expect it to be, right? That's not standard for any company to release like a detailed financial statement saying where any of the money goes. But
If you think it's fine that upwards of 85% of the money intended for Black Lives Matter Global doesn't end up in the hands of Black Lives Matter chapters, then like like that's your party, right? I don't care.
I mean, do you know on average for a charity that gets for like charitable donations, what percentage of that is